Hollywood is not just a realm of dazzling productions and blockbuster successes. It is also a terrain marked by perilous ventures and grand aspirations that frequently spiral out of control. Behind the fame lies a tapestry of concealed tales where legendary figures staked their fortunes on daring, often reckless, pursuits. These gambles have left enduring marks on the film industry, revealing the shadowy side of ambition and the heavy toll of financial missteps. Errol Flynn's Cuban gambling paradise. When people recall Errol Flynn, they often picture the daring, devil-may-care hero swinging from chandeliers on screen. Yet, in the late 1950s, as his fame waned and debts mounted, Flynn embarked on a far riskier venture than his swashbuckling roles, a real-life gamble that tied him to a turbulent chapter in history. Cuba, then famed as the America's playground, was awash with American mob money, celebrity excess, and political drama. Havana's glittering casinos and nightclubs attracted the world's elite, all eager for a piece of the action. Flynn, restless and ever chasing his next big score, saw a chance not only to reinvent himself beyond films, but to become a business tycoon. With his charm and reputation for living on the edge, he was approached by well-financed American investors planning a luxury casino and resort on one of Cuba's pristine offshore islands. The vision was irresistible, a private escape where the world's rich and famous could drink, dance, and gamble away from the prying eyes of mainland America and the press. Flynn was promised not only a stake in the enterprise, but also the starring role as its public figurehead, offering a golden opportunity to revive his dwindling fortunes. Flushed with borrowed funds, the syndicate began investing heavily in land development, casino equipment, and lavish facilities. Flynn was deeply involved, schmoozing with politicians, toasting the venture's future in Havana, and selling the dream of a Caribbean Monte Carlo to his Hollywood friends. Stars, socialites, and businessmen flocked to back the project, sending money south with hopes of striking it rich. Yet Flynn and his partners failed to anticipate the storm gathering over Cuba. As blueprints were drawn and parties thrown, Fidel Castro's revolution gained momentum in the mountains, marching closer to Havana. Some claim Flynn even met Castro, whether out of curiosity or secret involvement remains legend. In January 1959, the revolution erupted. Batista's government toppled, casinos shut down, and American holdings were seized overnight. Flynn's gambling paradise was now in enemy hands, unfinished, abandoned, and worthless. Investors lost everything. Though Flynn publicly shrugged off the disaster, the financial loss haunted him privately for the rest of his life. The dream of a Cuban empire became a ghostly reminder of one last desperate roll of the dice, a cautionary tale of a star who could never resist chasing the thrill one more time. Howard Hughes was a figure who made Hollywood seem almost tame by comparison. Born into wealth and propelled by a blend of genius and madness, he dominated realms spanning aviation, engineering, and filmmaking, towering as a colossal force across industries. Beneath the glamorous surface of his high-profile romances and blockbuster films lay a pattern of investments so vast and volatile they eclipsed the fortunes and follies of entire studios. The story truly takes flight with Hughes's determined effort to control Trans World Airlines, TWWA. By the 1930s, airlines were heralded as the future, and flush with movie profits as well as income from his Hughes Tool Company, Hughes seized upon aviation as his new frontier. He began quietly acquiring shares in TWWA until he eventually took control, ushering the company into a period of rapid innovation fueled by his unrelenting vision. Hughes invested tens of millions into advancing new aircraft, pioneering routes, and cutting-edge technology, committed to transforming TWWA into a crown jewel of global air travel. Under his leadership, the airline procured the sleek Lockheed Constellation, a plane so advanced it appeared to be straight from a science fiction story. Yet Hughes's appetite for spectacle extended far beyond commercial flights. During World War II, he conceived the H-4 Hercules, famously known as the Spruce Goose, an enormous flying boat designed to transport troops and materials across oceans, a government-backed response to wartime shipping blockades. But as the conflict neared its end, the need for such an aircraft diminished dramatically. Refusing to abandon his dream, Hughes poured millions of his personal fortune into completing the prototype. In 1947, amid skepticism and media doubt, Hughes himself piloted the Spruce Goose on its solitary flight, a brief, historic hop above Long Beach Harbor that made headlines but failed to convince critics. The massive aircraft was quietly retired thereafter, becoming a hangar-sized monument that embodied both unparalleled ambition and extravagant excess. As Hughes grew more secretive and his spending more erratic, shareholders and partners grew increasingly uneasy. His intense control battles, legal wrangling, and mounting debts cast a shadow over TWWA's future. Despite immense efforts to maintain hold over the company, Hughes ultimately lost TWWA by the early 1960s, battered financially, but cemented in history as Hollywood's most unpredictable and unrestrainable investor. Hughes's saga serves as a potent reminder of the fragile balance between brilliance and reckless obsession. In Hollywood, even the most extravagant dreams can swiftly transform into costly nightmares. The Beverly Hills Hotel oil scandal. To the outside world, the Beverly Hills Hotel stood as a shining emblem of Hollywood's glamour and allure. It was the refuge for stars escaping controversy, the backdrop for million-dollar deals struck over cocktails, and a magnet for the press eager to catch a glimpse of the silver screen's royalty. However, in the late 1940s, the hotel's manicured lawns and pristine tennis courts became the center of one of classic Hollywood's most brazen financial schemes, a scheme promising untold wealth beneath its very grounds. Whispers began circulating among Hollywood's elite of rumored oil deposits lurking beneath the Beverly Hills Hotel and surrounding exclusive neighborhoods, reminiscent of the oil discoveries that had previously fueled Los Angeles' spectacular boom. A group of smooth-talking geologists and promoters started making the rounds, pitching a can't-miss investment opportunity: buy into a new oil drilling company holding the rights to bore beneath the hotel and adjacent prime properties. The promise was tantalizing: strike black gold while lounging poolside with champagne in hand. The scheme rapidly sandwiched an illustrious cast of investors: actors, agents, producers, and even a handful of directors eagerly wrote checks, driven by the allure of quick and easy fortunes. As the list grew ever more exclusive, so did the pressure to join before the wells started flowing. However, the true riches were never to be found underground. Instead, they flowed directly into the pockets of the schemers behind the curtain. With money pouring in, the promoters staged a dazzling facade of legitimacy, arranging bogus exploratory drills, renting out equipment for show, orchestrating fake site visits, and fabricating favorable geological reports. Their controlled appearances of oil finding kept investors hopeful and funds flowing. But as repeated drilling efforts revealed nothing but barren earth, doubts grew into anger. Demands for transparency led to scrutiny of the company's financials, triggering the swift disappearance of the promoters as authorities closed in. Hollywood's glitterati were left holding empty wallets while the hotel's owners scrambled to protect their reputations from the fallout. The Beverly Hills Hotel oil scandal became a legendary cautionary tale, a moment where Hollywood's glitz collided jarringly with the gritty, unforgiving world of oil speculation. Even in a town built on illusions, the richest and most famous found themselves vulnerable to a con too good to be true. Beneath the swaying palms and sparkling pools, only whispers and regrets remained, a stark reminder that in Hollywood, sometimes the biggest gamble is believing in fortune beneath the surface. Clarabaw's husband and the racetrack fiasco. Clarabaugh, known as Hollywood's original IT girl, was no stranger to the spotlight or scandal. Yet even she couldn't foresee the disaster that would unravel when her husband, Rex Bell, a charismatic cowboy actor turned Nevada politician, pulled Hollywood's elite into an ambitious racetrack investment that promised glamour but ended in ruin. Restless and eager to carve out his own legacy beyond being merely the husband of a famous star, Bell saw the racetrack business as his grand opportunity. Southern California was riding a wave of horse racing fever. Santa Anita Park thrived, drawing crowds and moving vast sums of money faster than horses sprinted down the track. Sensing potential, Bell crafted a bold vision to establish a luxury racetrack just beyond Hollywood's borders, a glittering retreat for celebrities and socialites where fortunes might be won in the span of an afternoon. He spread the word at cocktail parties and exclusive gatherings, luring in some of the era's most bankable names. With Clarabaw's glamorous reputation lending the project credibility, stars like Gary Cooper, Carole Lombard, and prominent studio executives eagerly bought in, seduced by promises of endless luxury and quick returns. For a time, the dreams seemed within reach. Lavish designs were drawn up, grand plans announced, and the Hollywood press buzzed with anticipation. Investors poured money into the venture, parcels of land were secured outside Los Angeles, and excitement mounted. However, cracks soon appeared. Key permits faced delays, and internal conflicts splintered management. To cover mounting expenses, Bell and his partners resorted to borrowing against incoming investments, building a precarious financial house that could only stand as long as faith persisted. When the racetrack finally opened, reality fell short of expectations. Attendance disappointed, revenue dwindled, and operational flaws became apparent. The promised upscale experience was marred by poor construction, management scandals, and negative publicity spiraling out of control. As doubts grew, investors realized they had been sold a fantasy, and lawsuits soon flooded in. Clarabaugh, who had initially championed the project, found her name tarnished by association, devastating both her reputation and spirit. The racetrack disaster emerged as a stern warning to Hollywood's powerful players. Not every grand venture leads to a fairy tale ending. In the fallout, fortunes evaporated, friendships fractured, and the marriage between Clarabaugh and Rex suffered. What had once glittered as a monument to success became a cautionary saga, illustrating how even the brightest stars can cast the longest and darkest shadows when money and trust are at stake. Charlie Chaplin and the United Artists European Bank disaster. Charlie Chaplin, whose face was perhaps the most recognized around the globe during the silent film era, was no stranger to ambition beyond the screen. As one of United Artists' founding members, a revolutionary studio established so that stars could take control of their careers and profits, Chaplin navigated the challenges of both creativity and business savvy. Yet, even with his sharp instincts, he became ensnared in a catastrophic international investment during the turbulent period leading to World War II. By the late 1930s, United Artists was flush with profits, bolstered by Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and other film legends. Anticipating the looming conflict and the political unrest in the United States, the studio sought security for their wealth. European banks, especially those in Switzerland, promised tax-free growth, strong privacy, and attractive interest rates. The appeal was undeniable. The global financial centers of Europe promised safety and lucrative returns on investments, and Swiss banking secrecy was the gold standard. Financial advisors and slick intermediaries presented United Artists with offshore accounts and financial instruments designed to shield their earnings from potential political upheaval and taxation. Chaplin himself, wary of government seizures, advocated firmly for moving a significant portion of his fortune abroad. The studio entrusted millions to European financial institutions, convinced they were making prudential decisions. However, the outbreak of World War II shattered this careful plan. European financial markets plunged into chaos as banks closed, foreign accounts were frozen, and reliable contacts evaporated overnight. United Artists found themselves powerless when vast sums suddenly disappeared. Portions of their assets were lost to bank collapses, government confiscations, or outright fraudulent dealings. In some instances, the banks had invested recklessly or had merely feigned safeguarding the funds. Desperate legal battles ensued, dragging on for years, but most of the studio's money was never recovered. The scandal remained mostly hidden from the public eye. Few wanted to admit that Hollywood's mightiest studio had been outfoxed by European bankers and a tangled network of shady intermediaries. Reflecting with his characteristic dark humor, Chaplin later remarked that making millions in Hollywood was easier than keeping them safe in Europe. This banking disaster became a hidden chapter in Hollywood's history, a stark lesson for the elite that no matter how savvy or successful one is domestically, the global stage can harbor unseen traps. For Chaplin, the episode was a bitter reminder that even masters of illusion can be deceived, and that reality off-screen can contain plots more confounding than any film script. Mae West was never one to play by the rules. With her sultry wit and unapologetic confidence, she shattered taboos, outsmarted censors, and became one of Hollywood's highest-paid actresses. But as her film roles slowed in the post-war years and America's fascination with health and fitness surged, West spotted a fresh opportunity, one that would draw in stars, bodybuilders, and dreamers alike. This marked her bold attempt to build a gym empire, a venture that would later serve as a cautionary tale about mixing showbiz glamour with the realities of business. The plan seemed perfect for the times. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, physical culture was booming. Muscle Beach in Santa Monica attracted crowds eager to watch sun-kissed athletes flex their muscles, and Mae West, ever ahead of trends, invested heavily in a chain of gyms and health farms along the California coast. She envisioned a dazzling network of fitness palaces catering not just to celebrities, but to everyday people, promising an experience worthy of Hollywood royalty. With her signature flair, West threw extravagant grand openings, inviting stars and press alike to marvel at the state-of-the-art facilities. Her image graced billboards proclaiming, "Come up and lift with Mae West," a playful twist on her famous catchphrase. For a brief time, it looked like success was within reach. Membership surged, and some of the city's most famous physiques became regulars, lending the venture an aura of cool credibility. Yet the fitness business proved far more complex than a movie set. The cost of maintaining glamorous facilities soared, and managing multiple locations overwhelmed her team. Lawsuits soon surfaced over unpaid vendors, breach of contract, and allegations that trainers and staff hadn't received their due pay for months. Worse still, patrons began complaining the gyms failed to live up to the Hollywood promises, citing broken equipment and overcrowding. Mae's business partners, some less experienced than they appeared, struggled to manage the mounting financial pressures. By the mid-1950s, the Muscle Beach gym empire began to collapse. Locations shuttered suddenly, locking out members and baffling creditors. West, known for her toughness and resilience, now faced lawsuits and damaging headlines that questioned her business acumen. What started as a glamorous venture became a cautionary legend about chasing fads without a solid foundation. In the end, Mae West's Muscle Beach empire faded almost as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind only memories, a few faded photos, and a lasting lesson. Not every Hollywood star can flex their way to business success. W.C. Fields and the Orange Grove bubble. W.C. Fields was known for his sharp wit, comic cynicism, and a screen persona blending charm and distrust of the world. Off-screen, his skepticism extended to the financial world, believing that investing in a piece of California land was among the safest bets. However, during the 1930s, Fields and a group of Hollywood friends found themselves caught up in one of the strangest and most disastrous investment bubbles of the era, the California Orange Grove craze. The idea initially seemed sound. At the time, California's citrus industry was flourishing, propelled by strong national demand and the promise of easy profits. Hollywood's elite were targeted by ambitious real estate agents and agricultural promoters, who organized exclusive parties on sun-drenched farmland to pitch the allure of owning orange groves. The promise was simple: